Good morning, everybody. This is Rhonda Larson from Beautiful Healing Journey, and I'm doing a video this morning on some um, plants that are coming up in our yards right now or out in the wild. The three that we're going to talk about today that are really, really easy to find right now are purple dead nettle, dandelion, and chickweed. So the first one here I'm just going to talk about is this beautiful bunch of chickweed here. And one of the most defining characteristics of chickweed is, of course, the smooth leaves, but also these little white star flowers, as you can see. They have 10 petals. They're actually groups, it's actually grouped into pairs, so it's actually five starlets with two petals each. So this is what chickweed looks like. So if you look, and the nickname of this one is called starweed or starwort because the little flowers look like stars, obviously. So this one is coming up very readily right now, but a lot of people don't realize how valuable this herb is with our medicinal health. So some of the properties of chickweed, one that is really great, well, there's many, but one is it has demulcent properties. It's very mucilaginous, and those actually are really great for coughs or bronchitis. It's a very cooling and soothing, hydrating herb for the skin and internal uses. So if you're making cough syrups for, I wanted to include this one because, if anybody comes down with a cough or even, some of the concerns we have with the coronavirus right now is the dry cough. So this is a wonderful herb to be taking. You can make it into a tea to help soothe dry, irritated tissues in the respiratory system, or you can put it in your cough syrups that you're making right now to have those cooling, soothing, hydrating, and mucilaginous properties in those cough syrups. So another thing, it's great for inflammation in the body. It's great for the bowels. It's great for the stomach. It's really great for any kind of internal inflammation. And a lot of people that know about this wonderful herb, they make it into a poultice, or you can put it into salves, or you can tincture it. But it's great for skin issues, any kind of skin, like irritated, inflamed skin as well. So I'm actually going to make it into a pesto and make it into teas. I'm going to put a chickweed pesto recipe on my article today that you can pick some of this and use this in your, medicinally. Or you can, like I said, you can put it in cough syrups, or you can make it into a tea for dry irritation. So that is our chickweed for today. So again, just look for these beautiful little starlet flowers. That's how one of the biggest defining characteristics of chickweed. So then we come to dandelion, and everybody knows what dandelion is probably. It's coming up very, very profusely in the yards right now. A lot of people think it is a weed, but I actually love dandelion. I'm actually happy to see it in the yard. One of those strange people that love to see it just because I know that it has so many medicinal components to it. The most medicinal compounds are found in the roots and the leaves, which I do have some leaves here that I picked. When the greens are young like this, they're not as bitter. So they're great to use in salads. They're great to use it. You can tincture them. You can stir fry them with greens, with other greens. They're wonderful for the spring just because, in the spring our liver is working extra hard because it's a cleansing time of the year. Dandelion is a wonderful, wonderful herb for cleaning out the liver. It's a hepatic, so it helps with the bile flow. It helps the liver to work more efficiently. It helps the bowels to move. it's just, you know, it has blood purifying and detoxifying effects to it. And it's actually recently been shown to have antiviral properties, which is really, really amazing. I'm going to try to find, I'm going to see if I can find that study that was just done showing that it has antiviral properties, and I'll try to put that on the article today, just so you know. But this is a really, really valuable plant to have in our yard. So this is another reason why we don't want to spray our yard, because if we, you know, and another thing I wanted to mention here, if you spray your yard, please do not eat these herbs that are coming up. If you spray your yard, find them in the wild, or in areas that you know that have not been sprayed or used, you know, where there's chemicals. But so I wanted to show you here too. Here is a dandelion root that I pulled up this morning. The root is used medicinally, you know, for thousands of years for the liver. So like I said, it's a wonderful blood purifier. Um, uh, Great for the blood. The leaves are a diuretic. They help with the kidneys, but they also help with the liver as well. In the fall is probably the best time to harvest the root, because it gets a little bit larger and it has some more of the medicinal compounds in it, more than the spring. But the spring you can also harvest the root too if you would like to. But you can actually use the dry. You can chop up the root, wash it off, chop up the root, and roast it in a pan and grind it up and use it as a coffee substitute. Makes a great coffee substitute. So that's another way you can use dandelion root. I have the flowers here this morning because you can actually use these beautiful little flowers in a vinegar. And I'm going to put a vinegar recipe on my article today, that you can actually make a wild, nutritive vinegar recipe with the flowers. You can put the leaves in there. And you can also, here we go, here's the purple dead nettle. I'm going to put the purple dead nettle into the vinegar solution as well, because all of these, like I said, all these plants, you can put some chickweed in there. All these plants have so many medicinal and nutritive properties. And the vinegar, when you actually put these herbs into a vinegar solution for several weeks, the vinegar pulls out the nutrients from the herbs into the vinegar. So after like 4 to 6 weeks of having these herbs in the vinegar solution, you strain out the herbs, and you're left with this very rich medicinal, nutritive vinegar tonic that you can take, you know, one tablespoon a couple times a day, or with meals for digestion. You can use it in a salad dressing. Just a wonderful way that you can add a lot of nutrients to your vinegar. And vinegar also already has, you know, a lot of nutrients in it, just, you know, by itself. But when you're adding these nutritious herbs with all these medicinal effects and properties, you're enhancing it greatly. So our last one I'm going to talk about here is purple dead nettle. And a lot of people don't know that this is actually has a lot of medicinal properties to it too, a lot of nutritive properties. Purple dead nettle, most people know what this one is. That's coming up, you know, readily right now too, in the fields, in our yards. It has these kind of hairy leaves. They're very soft, and they have these pretty little purple flowers on the tops. But purple dead nettle is actually in the mint family, and I want to show you one defining characteristic of purple dead nettle. It has a square stem. I don't know if you can see that with the video or not, but it's not a round stem like a lot of your, you know, like dandelion here has a round stem, and so does chickweed here. That has kind of a round stem. But purple dead nettle, that's one way you can kind of, you know, define that, is by finding it has a square stem. So, and it has little hairs growing on the sides. This, like the chickweed, is very mucilaginous, so it's very comforting to dry, irritated tissues as well. It can be eaten raw, or you can put it in salads as a garnish. You can put it in with other salad greens. So, you know, if you're making a salad, you can put it add it as an addition to pestos. You could put a little bit of this into your chickweed pesto, um, or soups. It actually has anti-inflammatory properties, antibacterial, and antifungal properties to it. It helps the bowels to move. It's also has diaphoretic and diuretic properties as well. So yeah, it's just a wonderful herb to be using. If you have it coming up, growing in your yard or around you that you know has not been sprayed, pick this and use this. You can also make it into a tea as well. Um, a lot of times people will use it as a poultice. You can actually grind or just kind of bruise the leaves and the flowers a little bit, and you'll start getting a stickiness to it that will have that will get that mucilaginous effect out of the plant. That is the actual property that helps to soothe that dry, irritated skin. So it's great for irritation of the skin inside and outside. Um, so these are just some great herbs that we can actually be using in our everyday diets and in our medicinal cabinets. They're great right now, of course, because they're coming up because it's spring. I did want to tell you too, if you do make your vinegar solution out of these herbs, you always want to use glass. But I also tell people too, with vinegar solutions, you actually don't want to use your metal cap to these vinegar solutions, because the vinegar will actually corrode the lid. It will actually corrode it, and some of the metal can get into your vinegar solution. So although I really do not like plastic at all, I do use my plastic lid to cap it with when I'm making these vinegar solutions. I make sure that the vinegar is not touching the plastic at all. I always pour the vinegar to about just to the top of the jar. I leave about an inch head space, but try to make sure the vinegar isn't touching the plastic. Now you are going to shake it at least once a day while it's sitting in the cabinet for a couple weeks. So it is going to get some it's going to have some contact with the plastic, but not very much. You can also put a piece of parchment paper over top of the jar and then put the plastic cap on it to protect from contact with the plastic too. Some people also put parchment paper and then cap it with their metal lid too. You can really do either. I just wanted to let you know about using the plastic versus the metal lid for your vinegar solutions, and what you want to do just to protect your solution if it's coming into with the contact with the metal. Always use the parchment paper, and if you want to also protect with the plastic contact, you can also use parchment paper for that too. So all right, well, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I just wanted to tell you some other, some foods that we can be incorporating into our diet right now. All of these are really great for the liver. Remember, this is the time of year when we really want to be paying attention to our liver. We want to pay attention to our liver all the time, but springtime is just a great time to make sure that we're paying a little bit extra attention to it after the winter. So these are some great additions to our diet that we can help that process. So, all right, well, thank you all. I hope you all have a beautiful day, and thanks so much for joining me today.